Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2, 1.
People that take you down, just let them mind underground.
All them people that take you down, just let them mind underground. All them people that take you down, just let them mind underground.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam. We are live, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Today, we've got a lot to go over, including a hovering car. We're going to talk about, of course, North Korea. We're going to talk about the comments on Zelenskyy and Ukraine. It looks like, of course, that war is going to continue, but possibly without us, at least for the beginning. And, of course, Kim Jong-un is not happy. Getting right into it, Trump warns North Korea's Kim with a U.S. B-1B bomber exercise. The United States on Thursday sent 2 supersonic bombers to the Korean peninsula for a joint aerial drill with its South Korean ally as a warning to the nuclear-armed North Korea. The North Korean embassy in Beijing did not immediately respond. The White House in January said that the complete denuclearization of North Korea remains President Donald Trump's priority. However, Kim Jong-un, the North's leader, refused to give up his nuclear weapons and vowed to expand the nation's nuclear arsenal. Washington and Seoul have formed an alliance under the Mutual Defense Treaty since 1953, where 28,500 U.S. military personnel are stationed in South Korea to deter aggression from North Korea. The allies have frequently conducted combined military exercises. Not to mention, they have actually pulled up with nuclear submarines. They've essentially said, just short of giving them nukes, they basically said, well, for now, we'll just pull up our nukes every once in a while right next to you. And of course, with the B-1B bombers and things like this, every single time this happens, I guarantee within 24 hours, Kim Jong-un and North Korea will come out with some scathing, calling us, lying dogs of slime and ooze or whatever the heck that it translates into. They will end up calling us names and saying that this is absolutely not okay. One thing that is scary about the whole North Korea and South Korea situation is, first of all, it's one of the things that I think will start off a massive war. I think that North Korea specifically, North Korea is in my highest probability, bracket, next to right under that, Iran and Israel starting World War III. As far as South Korea and North Korea, it is very, very strange what is going on in South Korea. Of course, the president was arrested. I've talked about this a million times. They really haven't talked much about it. It's very, very weird to me that their president, if it was Donald, it would be world news for months and months and months. This is one of our key allies. We actually have U.S. soldiers stationed there, and they really haven't made too many comments about how the president did a martial law, and overnight, he essentially, after that, he was ousted. They had to go in and arrest him over the next week. He was protected and all this stuff, and he literally said that China was infiltrating into South Korea. Sound familiar? A lot of things have been happening around the world in Europe nations and European nations, of course, and in the adversarial countries that really tell you that something is building up to a precipice. And of course, North and South Korea, Kim Jong-un might be a puppet, but right now he's got treaties with Russia. And of course, I believe that they are secretly working heavily. They're working publicly with China, but they're also heavily secretly working with China. You, of course, got containers going from China into North Korea and then through to Russia. So they're all tied in together. And then, of course, the whole other list of countries that are tied in with them as well. They're all signing military treaties, and they're all getting ready for war. Meanwhile, the U.S., which this puts us at ease, I'm sure anybody watching from the UK or Europe is not put at ease, is essentially we're saying we are going to pull out of this. Pull out of NATO or try to pull back. And we're not saying we're full on pulling out yet, but we are saying, hey, we're not going to be as much of a part of this. We're really pulling our stuff back. And they're saying, of course, in NATO and in Ukraine, that this is going to cause them to essentially take over all of Europe. But it looks like that's what they want it to look like at the very least, so they can get this started. To any normal person, it's really wild to think, why would they want war? Well, you aren't invested with millions of dollars into military-industrial complex. These guys are. Some of them billions of dollars. They get more money. That means they get more power. money equals power, especially when it is up in the levels you're talking about with these people that are on the boards of these military industrial complexes. So they want war. They don't care about who perishes. They don't know them. And anybody they do know, they've probably warned or they've given them a heads up. We're going to talk about this and so much more on tonight's show. Stick around. We'll be right back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
All them people that take you down, just let them mind the ground. All them people that take you down, just let them mind the ground.
All right, and there is news that we missed. So, of course, thank you guys for your patience. If you did not join us for our Marfoogle news video, I do want to just do some quick housekeeping. Thank you, Sarah, for not only subscribing, but sending me the incredibly nice letter about how you just found our show and you just went back like 3 or 4 years through our shows and watched all sorts of old news videos, which not many people actually do. That's really, really awesome. But also thank you for the kind words. Thank you for telling us how it affected as far as you've now met some new people and you've already made friends. So thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. And also thank you for bringing in your husband as well. As far as the news over the yesterday, by the way, I had a surgery, so I was not here. I was almost going to do a show around 8 last night, but it just hurt to talk, so I did not end up doing that. So let's get into it. Of course, we have terrifying moment: buses burned in Israel, and this is they're calling a terror attack after these explosives detonate as more explosives found on coaches. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? How are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Now, before you get into what happened in Israel yesterday, I did want to say, again, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com. You can find all of the sources for today. Every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. There is a full bibliography right over there on marfooglenews.com. Again, you have all of that, and it is searchable and archivable. So, Sarah, if you're watching, make sure to use that search bar. You can actually go to certain topics or subjects and find it there. All right, Dex, so let's talk about what happened yesterday in Israel.
Well, apparently 3 buses exploded across various parking lots in Tel Aviv, and they ended up, and there's a series of blasts that looked like a coordinated attempt of an attack against them. They ended up shutting down all of the transportation systems so that they could start searching to see if there were more. Obviously, it sounds like these were in a parking lot, so they didn't sound like they were necessarily in use. So that's probably a good thing. It could have been much different if it was maybe during the middle of a rush hour situation or a congested time period where people are on the buses. But there were, I guess, 5 explosive devices. They had timers, and they were all intended to happen simultaneously, according to one of the reports. So they claimed that the devices were harrowing, intended to actually go off the next day when the buses were in service. So that's, I guess they went off a little earlier, a day early. Maybe they had the wrong date or time on their their tickers there, so to speak.
They didn't remember the Microsoft update, I guess. As far as this goes, they're calling it a T attack, right? I know that there's always going to be side theories about events like this, especially if in the next few days they say this was this party or this party, and say there's not public support to go after that party or that party. Something like this happens, all of a sudden that changes. So people always question, is this something like a Fantastic Freddy event type of thing to get it escalated? We already have Israel and Iran both promising or rumored to be promising some sort of attack. You have Iran just came out and essentially reiterated that they are going to continue on with True Promise 3. They called both of the huge missile attacks True Promise 1 and True Promise 2. Now the third one, they say, is coming. This is about a week after Israel stated that I shouldn't say stated. It was rumored that they are planning a massive attack on nuclear sites in Iran. So what is actually happening? I actually talked to somebody who has only been in the States for 5 or 6 years, an Israelite. He was actually the person that did our scheduled chimney stuff. And he actually agreed with many of the things that I thought about as far as what's going on there. And I was kind of surprised. I didn't know if what I said was going to offend. But he also thinks that they are not going to stop. And he has family there. He says that they are absolutely going to keep going, and with huge, huge events. They are rumored in Israel. They believe that there is something coming sooner than later. And I'm talking about talking to people in the last week that are there. They believe something big is coming, and that is the vibe that they are getting. It's kind of like, here it's a little bit different. We don't have air raid sirens set up like they do. But there, they do believe something is in the works right now. And they're very scared, or at least he said his family was. So is that the Ganda on both sides that's making both sides think that, the other one's going to attack? I don't know. But what I do know is when these big events happen, or if they attack the nuclear sites, or if Iran comes and attacks them before a really big attack goes back to Iran, then Israel will definitely respond. Either way it happens, it looks like a massive escalation. And then the president sounds off on Zelensky's insults as the U.S. works to broker Ukraine peace deal. It's crazy because Zelenskyy was totally propping up President Trump on a pedestal before he was put into office. But now that he's in, he's not doing exactly what he wanted, which is probably give a ton of money towards Ukraine. Dex, let's go over what was he throwing? He was throwing shade at the president.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's basically he said I've had it, with him. He went off on an interview. I think it was on the Kilmeade show. He was talking to somebody else. He said, I've been watching this man for years now as he cites as the cities are getting demolished, as people are getting perished, and as soldiers are getting decimated. He said, I've been watching him negotiate with no cards. He has no cards, and you get sick of it, he continued. He's referring to leverage in negotiations. He goes, you just get sick of it, and I've had it. He goes, I think he went on to further say that, he said it was the entire trip for Besant, who went over there, was a waste of time. He went over there to negotiate with him. He said it was an absolute waste of time. He wouldn't even come close to signing a deal with him. They were trying to broker a mineral deal. It would have been worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and then we would have protected Ukraine fully. And he wouldn't budge. He wouldn't negotiate. He was just it was ridiculous. So, he was going off, and Zelensky's told everybody that nobody decides anything behind our backs, and then Trump said, I got tired of listening to it. I've seen enough. And then he complains that he's not at a meeting that we're having in Saudi Arabia trying to intermediate peace. Well, he's been at meetings for 3 years with the president, who didn't know what the heck he was doing. He's been in meetings for 3 years and nothing got done. So I don't think he's very important to be at meetings, to be honest with you. He's been there for 3 years. He makes it very hard to make deals. So yeah, he's totally throwing Zelensky under the negotiating bus here.
And, you know, there was a comment there, and I don't know, something about that stuck with me, is when Zelensky said, I've been watching this man for years. Wait, I'm trying to make sure. Okay, so, no, okay. Never mind. I was thinking that that was Zelensky's quote. It goes back and forth on their quotes, and I'm thinking, I've been watching this man for years now as his cities get demolished, as his people get, you know, perished, and as his soldiers get decimated. Really, it's that, as far as like the situation there, Zelensky, I feel like this is a script. Like he doesn't think this stuff. He can't think this stuff up on his own. He was an actor on a TV show that played the president. Somebody, possibly somebody in our own government back in 2014 said, hey, this guy's like perfect. I mean, look at him. He plays the part. He looks the part. And he's good with it. And he's an actor. He can say whatever we need him to say. The three-letter agency's probably like, oh, no, yeah, he's a great asset. And then, of course, he then in real life goes from comedian to president. And then, of course, they did this PR campaign with him for the first 2 years where he only wore his like military garb, even if he was staying at a 5-star hotel at a black tie thing. They still had him in his clown suit of a green suit just to look like he's like right on the front lines. I mean, it was silly. He wore that same shirt forever, and that's because they wanted to burn that image in your brain. Really think about that. When they put him in the same clothes, they wanted you to see him, and every time you see him, you know, oh, that guy's down in the trenches. He's a hard worker. He's this or that. You know, there's all of these things that these PR companies do studies on like how you look at somebody. They say, oh, he's just, you know, a down hard worker. He's a hero. He's, you know, right there in the trenches with his people. In the beginning, when they showed him like, oh, I'm right in the war zone. But people looked back later and they said, no, he was totally 20 miles away from it. You know, where he did videos at the sort of the most crazy times during the conflict. In the beginning, where everybody had hero, you know, Zelensky on their profile pics and stuff. I mean, it was just silly. All of the crazy stories. Now, the farther it goes, just like CV in 2019, all of these things that everybody said in the very beginning, you go 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, everything is true that people have been saying. All of these rumors that everybody said, like within the first like 6 months, all of them are coming out as true. You know, even before that, it was like the 9 people underneath them resigned because all of a sudden they're driving supercars and all this. Now they're also claiming, and there's a lot of rumors, that they are selling almost half of the stuff that they are getting. Now, I don't know if that is true. Of course, Tucker and other people are claiming that. But guess who they're selling it to? They're selling it to, supposedly, the cartels. So think about what that will mean to us, especially since we just clarified them as a, you know, a T organization. And it's like, who created it? Basically, we did. We created our own problem in almost every case in the last 5 years. Do you guys agree? Have we created our own problems for ourselves? Like, oh, we've got a problem at the border. It was silly to me watching the last president saying, or the press speaker say, oh yeah, well, we definitely know we have a problem, after 2 years of saying, oh no, there's no problem, we've got it under control. Then to say there's a problem, at the same time, simultaneously, they're flying people in and housing them in 5-star hotels. I mean, this entire decade has just been absolutely silly. Zelensky, they want the war. He has got a script from up top, in my opinion, from NATO and from the shadowy figures, and he's just responding how they want him to respond. He's fully hamming it up. He's hamming it up for the cameras. He's hamming it up for the TV shows, and he's doing a great job because that is his job. He is an actor. He's an actor, dancer, BSMR, I don't know what you call it, BDSM commercial maker. The dude's, I think the dude's a weirdo. But again, if he's still your hero, then you go right ahead and you worship the dude. But yeah, it's very, very freaky to see everything that's going on, because it looks like they are trying to continue this war without the U.S. Stephen Click, thank you for the support. I appreciate you. Let's see. Kenny Crowder, thank you. Good evening, Adam, Dex, Mods, and Foogle fam. Hope you're staying warm and be safe. Love your way. And then All Things Random, thank you as well, says, let's hope this administration changes the trajectory of the U.S. for the better. 1 month, and they've already done a lot of good. It's not perfect, but it's so much better than the last 4 years. What I'm really hoping is that all of the prices go down. I hope that there's inflation drops. With how much it went up artificially, you would hope that they would be able to artificially or purposely make that inflation go way, way down. Like, they should, do something about the prices and the gouging that these companies doing, and then make a law against shrinkflation. I hope that they end up doing something like that. Or make it so there's a process. If they're going to shrink their product, that they have to tell you, like, put a big ass, label on it, like, our product just got smaller. There's less ounces in the bag. I would love that. Thank you, Kenny Crowder, and thank you, All Things Random. All right, and then before we continue, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is a device that, if you don't know already, it will protect you against not only EMP strikes, but also a Carrington-level event from the sun. This is a very easy device to put in your car. It takes about 10 minutes or less. Again, you just have to wire red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground. Then you have your car protected. That way you can get home if you work far from home. Great idea. Or you can get out to bug out. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP to find out more. Make sure to use the code MARF, though, if you do get one, or if you get several, because you get $50 off per device. So if you're outfitting all of your cars or your kids' cars, whatever it may be, that's going to give you $50 off per device and help our channel out at the same time. marfooglenews.com/EMP. And again, the company is now working with agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSA team. These are all Keystone military-tested devices that will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it fries your device. marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. All right, and then let's talk about the president's visit to Moscow in May. Dex, do you want to go over that?
Wow, so this is a big deal, but at the same time, we're hearing it from a French magazine, so maybe we need to just take it with a little grain of salt, but I have a sneaking suspicion that something like this is coming around. He has told us, Trump has said, he will probably be going to Russia, and Putin will probably be coming to America. And they will, be meeting in person in both respective countries. So what is being reported now is that he is going to visit Russia in May. He's going to join Vladimir Putin for May 9th celebrations, which is commemorating the victory in World War II. So it's Soviet Union's victory day, but it's the same day as it's the victory for World War II. And obviously Soviet Union and the U.S. were allies at that time, fighting against Germany. So the suggestion is that he will be there to celebrate that, or as part of, or recognizing that day, as it's a big event for those in Moscow.
And I don't know how how this is all going to go down, and obviously a lot of people are worried about the president going there because Russia and Ukraine, obviously they have taken out people left and right. They've done, car explosives. They've done all sorts of, poisons and things like this, especially Russia. Russia, out of all countries that comes to mind for poisoning people or, feeding them something, that's their bag. I just wonder if he's going to be eating with them, which he probably will, if he's going to have a taste tester. Would you do that job? Would you want to be the presidential taste tester? Personally, I would not, especially on trips like, one to Russia. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, I'm gonna give credit to Kimberly in chat. She said Trump was asked about this and he said it's not happening. So we just looked it up, and the current updates do say that he does not have plans to attend the victory parade. So kind of, it goes back to the flip side as you go back to like these outlets that are putting out these narratives about him, because there's this whole push right now with the shift in American support or reduction in support for Zelenskyy, and those that don't want it, especially in Europe, are painting it as a picture as the U.S. or Trump is, buddying up with Putin at the expense of Europe. So then you potentially get stories like this that come out, even that are blatantly false, and then you turn around and then we have to have our president come out and say, no, I didn't say I was doing that. So it's kind of frustrating to see that the media is playing these roles. They always have. They will continue to. But we do know, and it is a fact, because I think I watched one of his speeches or press conferences where he did say, yes, I would plan on going to Russia and I would plan on having Putin here. But it doesn't sound like that's necessarily the case for the Victory Day parade, which is what they celebrate. I think we call it something different here.
Yeah, see, like the dates like that, when they're putting these things out, obviously they want to paint a picture that Trump is best friends, that he's cozying up. They highlight any time that he compliments. And I will say this, I will totally give him crap if he literally says, this guy is my best friend, like I really want him to hang out and come over to my house. If it said something like that. What I see, and learning more and more about him, and going back, like if you've ever read any of the books he's put out, like The Art of the Deal, I feel like everything, he really, really categorizes everything as deals. He says it all the time. He again said earlier Friday, Zelenskyy makes it very hard to make deals. Deals, deals, deals. That's what you're hearing. Our country is running like a business now. And not like one of these businesses that was essentially losing money and somehow getting paid by government, government entities, and essentially losing millions and millions of dollars just to have a bias along with a single party. It's running like a business used to run. Like, if this is costing money, we're going to get rid of it. If there's too many people doing this, if there's 8 dudes, screwing in a light bulb, we're going to get rid of 7 dudes, or we're going to get rid of 8 dudes and create a light bulb changer, right? That's probably Elon style, probably very soon. But as far as this goes, it's like, it's all about the deal. It's all about the deal. Dex, go ahead.
Well, he also has this great ability, or he even says this, that he can do a deal with anybody. Like, he can, in the sense that he can set aside his differences with an enemy. He can be in the middle of a lawsuit with one guy over one thing and turn around and do a business deal with the same guy in something that's productive, and he can separate those two different things. Like, he can, and that's why I think when you listen to him talk, he can sit there and tell you what a great leader Xi or Putin is in the respect for what they've done or whatever. He may say those things, and he may say, I can do a deal with him and I'd love to talk to him, but at the end of the day, he may tell you he doesn't actually like the person, or he doesn't necessarily stand for what they are. But he's exactly what you're saying. He focuses on what does it take to achieve the goals, not, am I best buddies with this person, or do I have to like him or not to get what I want out of him?
Well, and like when he says things like, Putin's a really smart guy, or Xi's really smart. He's an excellent. He's speaking in facts, in my opinion, because if you look at somebody like Xi Jinping, you don't get to that position, especially in a communist nation, without being smart, without being cutthroat, without being something, right? Xi Jinping is incredibly smart. I mean, they are infiltrating countries like nobody's tomorrow. They are doing things. They've made certain things happen to where now the countries are in their debt with this whole, Belt and Road Initiative. They're also really, really focusing on the things that honestly they should have been. They're ahead of us in AI right now. That's scary as hell, and it's something that we can't catch up in. As far as our chief software officer, it was a special position made for him at the White House, or at the Pentagon. I'm sorry. This guy had a position made for him, worked the position. He was in charge of keeping track of this kind of stuff. When he left, he quit. And he said that, I don't want blood on my hands. We are behind in AI. And he admitted that the U.S. was behind. And now it's a fact. But it was, back then it wasn't. And it was like he came out with this and nobody believed it. But unfortunately, that's the case. How did they get ahead? Well, because they hyper-focused on things. Meanwhile, our country was going through all sorts of cultural and drama things and this and that. And really, there were people that were in very high places that were paying people's pockets to look the other way or to focus on this instead of this. So, I don't know if, how many people love the current president right now, but I do see exactly what he does with these business guys. He is basically being a salesperson. Is this going to be a good thing in the long run? We don't know. Nobody knows how this is going to end, running our country straight up like a very, very mean cut business. It might not be good in the long run, right? Maybe the dystopian system that we had, as bad as it was, what if we all lived until we're 90, but this system in 10 years, something flip-flops and it really is the end of the world or something, right? We don't know. I'm not saying that will happen, but I do think like we are all in a very unknown territory kind of time. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, you can't be the leader of Russia or the leader of China and not be intelligent. The only place you can do that is America.
Very true. And I mean, shoot. Yeah, especially in like Congress or Senate, man, some of these guys, and I'm sure there's a lot of fans of not RFK. What is the other Kennedy? The one that everybody clips. He says all sorts of funny things. Oh my gosh, Senator Kennedy. It's Senator, right? Who is this cousin?
Yeah, from Louisiana. Yeah.
Yeah. What's his first name? Why am I not thinking of his first name? You can't remember either, huh? John. Okay, so
John Neely Kennedy. I had to look it up. I couldn't remember it either because I just call him Senator Kennedy, but he's not related to the Kennedys.
Yeah, I know. And I forever I thought he was the cousin, so I always said that for like years.
Yeah. Like he would be the weird cousin, right?
Yeah, and who knows?
Out there. He's funny.
And who knows? Maybe they just like say he's not related, but he is somehow. Like they're like, he's the black sheep. Everybody clips his funny things, but man, that guy, and he is smart. Like I actually think he is smart, but he talks like he's one of the, some of his clips are like the dumbest things ever. But again, he has points in those dumb things. Whereas some of these people, it's like, how did they get the job? Like, in my opinion, just my personal opinion, some of the things that AOC has said. But again, I don't judge. I've said stupid stuff, but I'm also not in charge of a state. I'm not making laws that affect, millions of people. These people are, So maybe there should be like an IQ standard or something, an IQ test to even start. But I don't know. My IQ is not high enough to figure that out. And then Zelensky's best bet is to flee Ukraine immediately. President's insiders warn as Putin days away from declaring victory. Which, I mean, that's a big claim there. Vladimir Zelenskyy should flee Ukraine immediately amid escalating tensions between Washington and Kiev. Insiders in the White House have warned. So what does that tell you? If people in the current admin are leaking to the news that he should just get out of there, what is about to happen? Are we going to see a huge push? Are we going to see Russia, North Korea? Are we going to see 300,000 soldiers just go in there and take the country? Or is something going to happen where everybody just drops back? Something is going on. And I don't think that NATO is going to give up on this. I don't think the people that want this to continue are going to give up. But who knows? Maybe they've played all their cards and they just have to cut their losses or something. I don't know. They say that there's trillions of dollars, at least $12 trillion in resources in Ukraine. That was according to Lindsey Graham in a side comment. He was like, oh, well, we don't want Russia to get that money. So are they going to give that up? Are they going to give it to Russia? I mean, with the current GDP of like, what is it, $2 trillion for their whole country? That would be a pretty big deal if they got their hands on all of it, right? Dex, go ahead.
Well, look, if they're so close to claiming victory, then the victory they're looking for is just the territories. It's not like they're trying to invade all of Ukraine. You know, because it's not like they're marching across all of Ukraine and they're about to fall. It's just the territories that were the disputed territories that started the whole thing. I'm not trying to justify right or wrong here, but let's just go back to the original information. Before they invaded, those territories had constant civil-like unrest in them because they had people that were living there that were part of or felt like they were part of Russia, but they were controlled by Ukraine, and you had the government fighting against them, and they both, you know, clashed nonstop. And Russia had its history saying that territory was theirs, it should have been theirs, and it was claimed by Ukraine. So not saying that's right, I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just what they claimed. So, but there was a dispute there. So I guess my point is, if they really think it's days away from getting victory, then that victory is truly what he said it was, which was to come in and take those disputed areas where the people were being harmed over the many years of fighting with, the internal fighting with Ukrainians and Russians. So, that would further throw away the whole theory that, he's trying to take Ukraine and then he's going to move into Poland and then take the rest of Europe, right?
It would take the gas right out of their argument if that was the case. Also, if you have a really, really strong opinion about the whole Russia and Ukraine and the Russian-speaking places there, go watch. It's pretty crazy because CNN has told you for the last 4 years, like, these are the bad guys, this and this and that. Go back to 2014. Go back to the CNN talking about how Ukraine was absolutely horrid. There's tons of clips. People have been finding and archiving all of these old clips. Apparently there's this one guy who recorded almost every CNN broadcast, had 3 different TVs, 3 different literal VCRs recording all of it, and he's been spending all of his time, he's just a regular Joe, he's been spending all of his time transferring all of these VCRs, spending his own money to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tapes transferred over to digital so he can upload them. And there's like one source for all of these old CNN videos, at least a lot of them, because this guy caught everything, even the stuff that they wiped, from the internet and stuff. He's got all of them. And you go back and CNN was supposedly showing what was really happening and that Ukraine was absolutely horrible. You just have so much evidence and so many big names that you can go back and see that they said, hey, this is like totally corrupt. There was a reason they were not in NATO. They applied way back. They still are not in because there's a good reason for it. I mean, we're seeing that now. Where did our money go? That question's never going to go away either. Everybody's still pissed. And people talk about it every day. How often do you see it on the news? And everywhere you go is, all of our tax dollars, especially with the Doge thing going on, all of our tax dollars went to Ukraine. $350 billion at least. And now we're hearing rumors that half of it may have gone somewhere else or may have just been blown. I mean, everybody here, I'm sure, feels like they work way too hard to give their money away to, give man pads to Mexican cartels or to give a Lamborghini to some random soldier in Ukraine. That's bull. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then Angelo Perfelli says, the information my wife and I get from you nightly is unreplaceable. Thank you guys for all you do. Thank you, Angelo, and thank you for bringing your wife, and thank you guys for both being here for a long time now. Angelo, you've been here at least a couple years. Stephen Click says, why EpiPen shown in photo as decorated military? I'll have to check. Are you talking about on the Marfoogle news thing? Or is it something that was on one of the random pages? I will have to go look.
No, on the page, I just looked. It was on the page that we showed. It was a picture of him next to Weinstein.
Yes.
Yeah, he had on
you're
an
right.
outfit.
I saw that too. I think it was a costume, but hold on.
Yeah, it looked like a naval.
That was on the last show, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll show you guys what we're talking about. This is, you can easily go to marfooglenews.com and go to the Marfoogle News show, and you can see this for yourself. You go to our website. They are afraid of what's coming. The list, which, by the way, I put the symbols in the background because that's purpose. That I get so much crap if I do anything like that, but I wanted to purposely do that. The puppeteers, puppeteering and the this all-seeing eye and the people that were involved in that. So that was on purpose. You can quote me on that. But this one, this list today. So look at this. I think that's a costume. Yeah, because she's in like a masquerade thing. And you know what's so creepy? This is costume. This is black tie event. And this is masquerade. Like costume party, black tie event, masquerade. That tells me, and I just said this on the other show, is like that they had everything for everybody, right? I bet you she, on one part of the island, was part of a masquerade ball where everybody's covered like Clockwork Orange or whatever it was called. He was in a costume party or something, and then he was in some sort of fancier setting. I have a thought that this guy had this island, and it had every perversion, essentially every one of them. Like I said on that show, that I think it wasn't just catering to this or that, or young this or young that, or, this kind of fetish or that. I think it was everything. I think he was the guy that these rich people, they were so rich, they don't have anything more to spend their money on. They can buy a skyscraper if they want. They've got so much money that these people get bored with everything, and they know with this much money, you can do almost anything. When you have this much money, they do weird stuff. And I think that's just a fact. But yeah, good catch. I didn't even think about that, but is that a costume? Is there anything real about that? Or what if that's a real outfit from somebody that never left the island? All right. And then China launches surprise live fire war drills near Australia and New Zealand, forcing flights to be diverted in shock show of force. So this caught everybody off guard. This caught me off guard for sure. It says the unusual appearance of Chinese naval ships in the Tasman Sea sparked fears that live fire exercises were launched, putting the area on high alert. Airlines flying over the sea were warned by the Chinese military to change their flight path over an allegedly secret exercise. China's potential live fire drills were a shock to Australian authorities, who reportedly only learned about these exercises from surprised commercial pilots. Richard Marles, the defense minister, said, "To be clear, we weren't notified by China. What China did was put out a notification that it was intending to engage in live firing." It said, "By that, I mean a broadcast that was picked up by airlines or literally commercial planes that were flying across the Tasman." The minister explained that this was unprecedented because authorities typically give 12 to 24-hour notice of live fire drills. 3 Chinese warships were reportedly running these exercises just 150 nautical miles east of Sydney. Dex, you know what I think about this is because it was surprise, it was last minute. I believe that they were doing something really, really nefarious here, and they didn't want to give any notice to anybody because they did not want all of it to be seen. They didn't want somebody being there for this. I don't know. It seems
it's a test. It was a test. How close can they get? And how soon can they start doing something before people realize it? Because if they wanted to actually roll up on somebody, how long would it take them to be identified? And how long would it take them to realize it's not just some ships passing by, or that's kind of odd they happen? Because they talked about it yesterday, like, because they were up in the Coral Sea, and now they're down in the Tasman. And that's
and the
further south.
placement.
That's right. Yeah, and 150 miles outside of Sydney. That's not very far. Not, that's pretty close.
Yeah, in the place, right? Nobody. I've covered this for 7-8 years. I've never seen them do one right here. They are not exactly good with Australia too. I mean, I've covered all of the back and forth with them. They've had lots of problems. Australia is one of the only countries to ask independent people to go in during the CV and to be able to look at what was going on and the origins and everything. Right when they did that, it was like same day, China's like, oh, we're going to tariff you, because they were pissed off that they even asked, right?
And Adam, to be fair, I marked that map, and so I marked it as the Coral Sea, because that's where it was yesterday. If you go further south on that map,
it's down
and you
here.
look for Sydney,
yeah,
they had moved and they were down there. So I think they were in that Coral Sea, but when you go south, just right outside Sydney, that's where they were.
So yeah, this is the Tasman Sea, and yes, if you were thinking, oh, like Tasmania, it's totally like Tasmania, which of course makes you think about the Tasmanian devil. And then EpiPen client list today. Speaking of which, we just covered this over on news. I forgot. Like, you can just like straight up pop it up, right? So I wonder what is still there, by the way. Like, how much of this is still present? What did they say about EpiPen, right? Who took his island? Like, who's in charge of that? Does he get to, when he perished, did he get to give that to somebody? Do you remember what they said about that? I feel like somebody was trying to buy it.
Yes, I thought somebody did buy it. They're trying to build a resort or something on it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember we covered it and we're like, who would want to stay there? But again, I bet the rich people are like, who wants to stay there? Let's go, guys.
If you zoom in on the map, though, I believe most of the images are 2023. I'm looking at it now, like September of 2023.
Okay, is that a sundial? Did you see this? That looks like it's a huge sundial, but look at the style of it. There are so many weird things about just everything with EpiPen. And then look at this. Oh, is that blurred out? Did they blur this out? This looks like it was altered. Why? There's a bridge to just a dirt patch. This absolutely looks altered and edited. I wonder too when this was updated, because it's like when he was alive, do you think that he was able to pay people at Google to be able to blur things out and not allow things? I mean, he had friends everywhere. I mean, this guy, they were able to take out while he was in jail. That's insanity, in my opinion. And then look at this. There's like fossils. It looks like or snails. Those are so giant, you probably wouldn't even be able to see those from the ground. That's tacky, in my opinion. Why would you just have 2 snails? Or was that something else? From everything that we've heard has gone down on this island, it's like, who knows what secrets are there, right? But yeah, looks like there's certain chunks that are blurred out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. As far as the list, they're saying that that it's on Pam Bondi's desk. So we'll see what that means. This is going to be the first of many things that needs to come out. There's, of course, a whole list of things that the president and the vice president and, Kash Patel have been talking about and saying, hey, we need to release this stuff. A lot of us are not like holding our breath because, like, the JFK stuff, they've already told us essentially we know pretty much everything. And what's funny is you don't see protests in the street. If there was documents that just straight up said, like, we took out our own people, it's almost like they waited until the people of that generation were not, old enough to not be a problem. Because honestly, everybody loved JFK. And if that information came out, Dex, what do you think would happen if they end up telling us that the U.S. government took out JFK? What do you think would have happened if that came out in like 1970 or something like that? How do you think that would affect the U.S.?
Yeah, it would be about like what would happen if they took out Trump before he was in, right? I mean, it could have been a very big deal. I mean, there was a lot of people that were for him. There was a lot of people that weren't. Some suggested that he even got in because of some rigging and stuff in Chicago and other locations. But nonetheless, he was still a very popular president.
Yeah, I mean, and with JFK, it's like that stuff. They're supposedly going to pull that out. How much of it was appeasing the public, and there were this short list of things that they could possibly get out there. Like changing all of healthcare. That's hard ass. But trying to release top secret information, I would think that would be easier than, say, changing the whole system over. But who knows? Now Doge is going through all of it, and there's possibly going to be massive changes on top of what has already happened. There's already a crazy amount of things changing. How many of these are going to stick? Did you see the press conference? I think it was today. It might have been yesterday, where the president was talking to one of the Congress people or somebody, and he said, yeah, everybody's going to start following the executive orders. And then he directly talks to a woman, and he's like, are you going to start following the executive orders? Are you going to start doing what we ask? And she's like, no, I won't. And she ends up saying, well, no. And he goes, oh, I'm cutting all of your federal funding then. You're not going to get any funds from us. And she goes, okay, well, I'll see you in court. And he goes, okay, I'll love to see that. That's going to be easy. I wonder, how is it actually going to go in Supreme Court? Like, or if when they do go to court on these things, are all of these changes, the stuff that we're hearing about, where they're cutting things massively out, how many of these things are going to stick? How many of these things could actually come back? Obviously, they've cut funding to 5-star hotels for migrants and things, but how many of the other things, the money that they say they've gotten back, is that actually going to stay back? Or, are they going to end up, are they able to fight that? I don't know.
Well, they don't do it just because they don't think it's legal. Like, they have their legal argument for it, right? So I guess it really comes down to, I think what you'll see is judges, like the one with, I think you were talking about the governor of Maine, is the one who he got into that spat with. But yeah, you'll see it. We saw it just like we saw the lower courts will make one decision, and then it'll move up to the next court, and they may make another decision. And it may even go all the way up to the Supreme Court, depending on, who stops appealing. And is, everybody doesn't want to get their way until it takes it to the top. But yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, this is a very historic time. I'm sure all of you have been watching it like, just what the heck. By the way, thank you, Ilea, for not only checking in on me after my surgery, but thank you again for modding. Make sure to, of course, thank all of your mods over at marfooglenews.com/friends by going and subscribing. Go get one of Chance's books. He's got an Amazon link there. He's an author. You've got, of course, Trinity has an incredible channel. She is actually doing a ton of content right now. Go become a member over at Trinity's. Go check out Wages. You can also grab a membership from them. Support all of these guys. They are very, very good people. There's a reason they've been here for years and years and years. So make sure to go support. All right. And then Wages is also covering all of the solar activity that's going on, which is almost every day. There's something absolutely unheard of. So make sure to go check him out as well. And then Trinity does deep dives into everything. As far as EpiPen, the whole thing, I mean, as we watched that play out in real time, it was shocking, But at the same time, how much were we lied to about that? I'm surprised, the list is coming out, or they're trying to release the list. But is there other stuff that FBI, when they went into that island and grabbed everything, what's the real dirt? Like, I'm sure there's tons of stuff that they're not going to show us. Put it all out. How Elon and how the president have said, we need to be totally more transparent. Most of the taxpayers are adults. So there might be graphic things, whatever it may be. They should put that kind of stuff out, especially if it has something to do with congressmen or senators or whatever. Like, that stuff needs to be out there, like in an archive. I think that we should have more freedom to judge for ourselves, like what we're able to see. You know what I mean? Even if it's messed up, or if somebody perishes, right? If something happens like that, be able to see that. Like, they censor all of that kind of stuff. I can understand censoring it for kids or for videos that maybe everybody's going to end up watching. But to be able to access that information, like Osama bin Laden, what's the deal with that? Why isn't anybody asking about him? Like, what really happened? They say they dumped him out in the middle of the sea so they wouldn't martyr him. But I'm like, what really happened? Where's I know that the 7 pages on the 2001 report, but where's the thousands of pages that they have on Osama and his relationships with, past presidential families? How about the files on how all of these people are somehow related, or that they're, in the same clubs, or that they ended up spending time in high school together, and, just the weird other stuff that's out there? How many of these people break open the files where, how many people attend the meetings in the woods in California? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I don't think will ever come out. Do they? And I'm sure they have it. Dex, do you think the CIA doesn't know who goes to the, what do you call it? The woods where they do weird stuff at?
Yeah, the Grove?
Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Which, by the way, if you guys did not know, I was nervous even talking about it. There was a video that came out by a random YouTube channel that had no subscribers. Did any of you see that video? It's really recent. What would you say, Dex? Like 4 or 5 months ago or something like that? Summer, maybe?
Yeah, that time frame.
That video, person is in the bushes watching a presentation, like a play, with all sorts of things coming in, and with an announcer. And that video got taken down by the actual Grove. Did you guys know about that? Nobody covered it. It had more than 100,000, 200,000 views, and it got taken down. Like, how long did it take to get taken down? I know that several people downloaded it before it did, but wasn't it like a couple hours or something? Or was it like a day?
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was more than a day, but it wasn't that long.
Well, as far as that video goes, that opened my eyes to, like, these people really are just on a different level of weird. And they are into traditions. They're into repetitiveness, and like it really reminds me of the stuff that has come out about certain groups that meet, that work with bricks. Like that's what it reminds me of. And I just think, man, it looks like one of the most boring things ever. But at the same time, what if there's really people up on that stage that basically never get to go home? It was just freaky. That whole thing is freaky. And all of these people at the very top, they are freaky. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And I appreciate you coming and stopping by, especially a couple new subscribers there. Thank you. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Wingsy. Thank you. What is that? Bill Jannings, I think. And then thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, of course, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, whatever it is. Thank you. I'm just floating. Thank you. And Mark, thank you for subscribing. Thank you, everybody that has hit that notification bell to all. If you don't, you're going to get some of our shows. And thank you, everybody that has supported us in other ways. I appreciate all of you guys. Dex, thank you so much for your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And before we head over to Jams, make sure to also go over and check out Jace. You can actually get a emergency kit with all of your most common antibiotics. Go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace, Jase. You can actually get, of course, not only antibiotics, but you can also add on things like emergency inhalers and other medications right in there. You can do this from the comfort of your couch, from your phone or tablet or computer, and, of course, talk to a board-certified doctor on that telehealth appointment and get it shipped right to your front door. Go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, also you can check out Jace Daily. That is where you can get a 12-month supply of your regular medication. So again, if you are dependent on something, whether you like to be or not, this is something to think about, especially for your family or if you're a caregiver. Go check that out because you could have a year of your medication. If the lights go off tomorrow or if a major storm or event happens, then you are covered. marfooglenews.com/Jace, Jase, code MARF if you want to help us out. We are independent, so we are completely on our own. We are not treated equally as far as it goes in the news spectrum. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for following us, and thank you for watching every show. For you replay watchers, I appreciate you. Thank you for having your coffee and watching us. And thank you for those of you that have are still watching at this point in the video. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Take you down, just let them mind on ground. All them people that take